The sun spilled golden across Charlotte's Dilworth neighborhood, painting the sidewalks with a deceptive warmth that didn't quite reach the chill in Harper Lane's bones. At 32, she carried herself with a quiet strength. But today, her steps faltered as she approached the elegant white tent pitched on the lawn of a historic estate. The air buzzed with the scent of jasmine and champagne, the kind of southern opulence that masked sharper truths. Harper had parked 2 blocks away. Not out of necessity but instinct, she didn't want to be seen arriving. This wasn't just a family brunch, it was a stage. And she already knew her role, the outcast. Inside, the tent hummed with clinking glasses and murmured pleasantries. Harper smoothed her navy dress, a simple choice that felt like armor, and gave her name to the girl at the welcome table. Harper Lane, she said, voice steady. The girl's eyes flickered with unease as she scanned the guest list. Her pen hovering. No Harper Lane. A quick glance to the side. A whisper into a headset. And a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You can go in, ma'am. Just head to the left. No welcome drink. No place card. Just a direction that felt like a dismissal. The scent hit first. Roses. Citrus fizz. And perfume that cost more than Harper's entire outfit. She stepped inside, her heels catching briefly on the plush rug, and followed the sound of laughter. Up front, her older sister, Evelyn Reed, 37, stood on a small platform, radiant in a tailored ivory dress that screamed ambition. Evelyn's voice floated through the speakers. Honeyed but barbed. Some of us choose to honor the family name, she said, raising her flute. Others marry beneath it and drag us all down. The crowd's laughter was polite. Tight, a ripple of knowing glances. No one said Harper's name, but every eye found her. Harper froze, her breath catching, before she spotted her seat, a folding chair at a table so close to the portable restrooms she could hear the generators hum. No name card, just a plain napkin and a chipped glass. Even the kids' table had glitter pens and printed tags. She sat, her hands folding tightly in her lap. Her father, Richard, didn't look her way. Her mother, Diane, met her eyes for a split second, lips twitching, then turned back to her drink. Evelyn's speech droned on, praising her fiancé, Carter, a true legacy builder, for their upcoming tech startup gala. Legacy. The word stung like a slap. Harper stared at her water glass, pretending to scroll her phone. But her mind spiraled. She remembered the first dinner with her parents and her husband, Caleb Brooks, 34, a black man whose hands bore the calluses of real work, construction, design, creation. Diane's smile had thinned when she saw those hands. Richard had leaned back, voice casual but cutting. So, Caleb, you in contracting or custodial? Harper had laughed it off. And Caleb's warm chuckle had followed. But in the car afterward, his jaw was tight, the radio silent. That memory clawed at her now. Sharp and unyielding. The clatter of cutlery snapped her back. She pushed her chair out and slipped toward the restroom, craving silence over air. As she passed a cluster of guests by the champagne fountain, a voice hissed just loud enough to sting. That's her husband. Thought he was the help. The words didn't hit like a punch. They sank like a bruise. Deep and spreading. In the restroom, the fan's drone muffled her pulse. She stayed too long, letting the hum drown her thoughts. When she emerged, dessert was being served, petite cakes on gold plates she'd helped fund. No one noticed her slip out. Outside, Caleb leaned against their car. Tie loosened, his calm a quiet rebellion against the tension. Didn't want to make it worse, he said, voice low. You didn't, Harper replied, sliding into the passenger seat, clutching a discarded linen napkin. Its embroidery pristine but crumpled. They drove home in a silence that wasn't heavy, just hollow. At a red light, Caleb glanced over. You okay? Harper stared at the fading sky, a dull blue that mirrored the ache in her chest. They don't see me, she murmured. They never have. Back home, Harper decided to return her mother's casserole dish, a small errand to anchor her. Their house was 3 doors down, a short walk through the oak-lined street. She let herself in with the spare key, stepping into a dim foyer where a single lamp cast amber across floral wallpaper. The quiet was familiar, But the house felt foreign. She carried the dish carefully, her steps soft, until her eyes caught the family wall. Once a chaotic collage of school portraits, beach candids, and Christmas outtakes, it was now curated, sterile. Evelyn and Carter's engagement photos dominated, 4 frames. One in dramatic black and white. Her nephew's baby pictures had a collage. Even great-uncle Frank's old fishing snapshot was reframed in silver. But Harper? Gone. No wedding photo. No childhood snapshot in an oversized graduation cap. Nothing. She set the dish on the entry table, fingers brushing the edge of Evelyn's portrait. The glass was flawless. Evelyn's smile wide, confident, loved. Harper's breath hitched. They erased me, she whispered, the words catching on the silence. She left without turning off the lamp, the glow trailing her like a ghost. At home, Caleb was in the kitchen, chopping onions with steady precision. He looked up but didn't speak, just slid the cutting board aside, leaving space for her. She didn't join him. Instead, she sank onto the couch, pulling a throw blanket over her knees. The family wall wasn't just a memory, it was a burial. Steam from her tea fogged her glasses. She removed them, rubbing her eyes, exhausted not from the day but from pretending it didn't hurt. Days later, the betrayal deepened. An email, accidentally forwarded, landed in Harper's inbox. Subject: Co-signing pitch deck, Lane Legacy Campaign. It was a thread between Evelyn and Diane. Harper's name buried in the CC line. Evelyn's words were casual, cruel. She's harmless, like a decorative paperweight. Let her sign and smile. That's her lane. No reply from Diane. No defense. Just silence. Harper didn't cry or rage. A cold clarity settled in her chest. She created a new folder. Reminders. What they said, and dragged the email in. A wound preserved under glass. That was the moment she stopped making excuses. No more she didn't mean it or mom's just stressed. The war had been declared long ago. And she was done playing peacekeeper. Then came the theft. Harper discovered Evelyn had stolen Caleb's product design, a sleek, dual-compartment storage unit he'd sketched 3 years ago. Down to the exact measurements. Evelyn had slapped her name on it for a glossy PR campaign. No credit given. Harper opened their old Google Drive, Lane Brooks archive, and compared the files. Identical. She pulled up their LLC filings, Lane and Brooks designs. Dormant but alive. Her breath steadied. She opened a new document and typed, cease and desist. The next morning, Harper arrived at her office. A small space above their art gallery. With a fire she hadn't felt in years. She instructed her assistant, Mia, to pull the contract for their brand partnership and reactivate their legal folder. On it, Mia said, catching the edge in Harper's voice. Caleb walked in soon after. A breakfast burrito and coffee in hand. He set them on her desk. Studied her posture, her focus, the open files, and asked, "You ready?" Harper nodded, not sharp or dramatic, just certain. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. They both knew. She wasn't seeking approval anymore. She was reclaiming what was hers. The Charlotte skyline shimmered under a late spring dusk. Its glass towers catching the last rays of sun like a promise Harper Lane was finally ready to claim. At 32, she stood in the quiet of her Huxley gallery. Her sanctuary and battleground. The air smelled of lavender and lemon oil. The same scent she and her husband, Caleb Brooks, 34, had chosen when they opened the space 5 years ago. Back then, it was a dream stitched together with late-night sketches and stubborn hope. Now, it was a testament to what they'd built, and what Harper was determined to protect. Harper moved through the gallery, adjusting frames and smoothing labels. Her movements deliberate, almost sacred. The space was empty, save for the soft hum of jazz drifting from ceiling speakers. No donors, no critics, just her and the art, hers, Caleb's, and a few local artists whose work spoke of survival. She paused at a small frame she'd hung that morning. A candid photo of her and Caleb from their early days. Barefoot on a paint-splattered floor. Laughing like the world was theirs. No plaque, no spotlight, just truth. She stepped back, her chest tight with a quiet pride. This wasn't a monument. It was a memory she refused to let anyone erase. Her journey to this moment hadn't been gentle. For years, Harper had chased her family's approval, bending herself to fit their vision of legacy. Her sister, Evelyn Reed, 37, had led the charge, dismissing Harper's marriage to Caleb as a stain on the Lane name. "You're throwing away our legacy for someone who'll hold you back," Evelyn had sneered, her words slicing deeper than Harper ever admitted. Her parents, Richard and Diane, hadn't disagreed, their silence a betrayal of its own. They'd scrubbed her from the family narrative, her wedding photo gone from the hallway, her name absent from invitations, her existence reduced to a chipped glass at a brunch she'd helped fund. But the final blow came when Harper discovered Evelyn had stolen Caleb's design, a sleek storage unit he'd poured his soul into, and passed it off as her own in a glitzy PR campaign. The theft wasn't just of a product, it was of their dreams. Their proof that they could build something undeniable. Harper's response was surgical. She gathered evidence, drafted a cease and desist letter, and leveraged her role as co-trustee in the family's estate portfolio to block Evelyn's latest venture. Redirecting funds to a grant for underrepresented innovators. It wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. Now, standing in the gallery, Harper felt the weight of that choice. She'd stopped seeking her family's love, realizing peace didn't come from their applause but from living her truth. The ones who stayed, her latest exhibit, was her manifesto. Each piece, vibrant canvases, intricate sculptures, raw poetry etched into wood, told stories of artists dismissed by the world. A mural of cracked earth blooming with wildflowers spoke of resilience. A wire figure, bent but unbroken, mirrored Harper's own spine. The exhibit wasn't flashy, no interactive screens or viral hashtags. But it was honest, every brushstroke a whisper of survival. As dawn crept through the gallery's windows, Harper's phone buzzed with a text from Caleb, "Home soon. Tease on." She smiled, the kind that felt like coming up for air. She locked up and headed upstairs to her office, where a cream-colored envelope waited on her desk. Her name, Harper Lane, was written in sharp ink. No middle initial, no Mrs., just her. Inside, a letter from Vern Holdings confirmed her as co-trustee, granting her a deciding vote in the family trust's next move. Evelyn's latest expansion, built on stolen ideas, hung in the balance. Harper folded the letter and set it beside a vase of white tulips she'd bought on a whim, their soft petals a quiet rebellion against her mother's disdain for them. The week passed in a rhythm Harper didn't force. She met with her legal team, dined with Caleb at their favorite hole-in-the-wall diner, and slept deeply, unburdened by the need to prove herself. On Friday, she dressed in black, sleek and intentional, her wedding band the only adornment. The boardroom at Vern Holdings was cold, all marble and walnut, the air sharp with unspoken stakes. Evelyn swept in late, her confidence a polished veneer. But her eyes flickered when they met Harper's. She launched into her pitch, market trends, female-led impact, family legacy, her voice a rehearsed symphony. Harper waited, silent, until Evelyn finished. "Miss Lane," the chairman, Gregory Verne, prompted. Harper stood, placing a single document on the table, its edges crisp. "I'm revoking Evelyn's discretionary equity access," she said, voice steady. "In its place, I've authorized a grant under Lane and Brooks Holdings for artists and innovators the world overlooks." The room stilled. Evelyn's face tightened. "You're punishing ambition," she spat. Harper didn't flinch. "I'm stopping theft from masquerading as ambition." The gavel fell. Motion denied. Evelyn's expansion was dead. Outside, Evelyn caught Harper by the elevator, her voice a hiss. "You think this makes you a hero?" Harper turned, calm. "No, it makes me the adult." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "You've destroyed me." Harper's gaze held steady. "You built a house of stolen bricks. I just stopped calling it a home." The elevator doors closed, sealing the silence. Back home, Caleb was in the kitchen, chopping herbs with a rhythm that grounded her. Harper poured a glass of water, staring out at the swaying pines. There was no fanfare, no victory lap, just stillness. Earned and full. The next morning, she returned to the gallery before sunrise. the air thick with resolve. She hung a new label for the ones who stayed. Its words simple. For those who built what couldn't be taken. She didn't need her family's name to shine. She'd forged her own. Later, in her bedroom, Harper opened a drawer and pulled out an envelope addressed to Evelyn. Inside, a letter she'd never send. You broke me. Then blamed the cracks. I rebuilt without your permission. She folded it back, closing the drawer. She didn't need Evelyn's guilt or apology. She'd outgrown both. The local news flickered on, reporting a shift at Vern Holdings. Evelyn's name was absent, her absence louder than any headline. Harper turned up the gallery lights, letting the morning claim the space. Caleb arrived with 2 steaming mugs, handing her one without a word. They sat in the garden, the wind singing through the leaves. She never apologized, Harper said softly. Caleb's eyes held hers. She never learned how. Harper sipped her tea. That's not mine to fix. The ones who stayed opened that weekend to a small crowd, collectors, artists, dreamers. They lingered, not for clout but for connection. Each piece a mirror to their own quiet fights. Harper watched from the back, her heart full. Legacy wasn't what her family left her. It was what they couldn't steal. Peace wasn't applause. It was the courage to stop shrinking. Hey, you. Yeah, you scrolling through. Ever had to choose between keeping the peace and standing up for your truth? Drop your story in the comments. What did you learn? If this hit home, share where you're watching from. If it missed the mark, tell me why. I'm listening. Want more stories of grit, heart, and reclaiming your voice? Hit subscribe. One click, and you're in for the next chapter. Stay true. Stay you.